So this is our 28-foot bus. We have 3,200 watts of solar panels up on the roof, and I built an extra cage back here that holds our mini split air conditioners. I have one installed already. You can see that beautiful unit working right there, working properly, working great. And the other one is gonna go right next to it. I'm gonna have two side by side. That's a lot of cooling and heating power in our bus. It's amazing. This is the inside air handler unit. I have it flipped upside down because this mounting plate is what I'm going to be mounting on the wall. I just gotta snap this out of here. We'll be using this kind of as a template. I'll be drilling a hole in the wall right here of the bus for these line set cables and condensate tubes to go through. Up here at the front of the bus, the driver's seat is obviously right there, but that air handler unit is going to be going right here in the center of the wall so it can blow back into the back of the bus. I have a matching one on the back wall all the way in the back that blows forward to cool the bedroom and the bathroom area. But this is a nice flat surface. It's easy to get the air handler unit in here, and it won't even be in the way. Because down here is my garden, and I even have a little surprise for the garden. The condensation from the air handler unit is going to be used to water my garden. So I'm going to be doing that with this install too, and adding a little automatic drip feed system to water my garden on the dashboard. Pretty awesome, pretty awesome. So this is the plate that the air handler sits on. We have it marked out with the center line, and we're just lining it up with the holes here. I've already drilled one hole there, and I got to drill another one over here. I'm going to pop some rivets in this, and the rivets will hold it really tight. And I'm going to fill this thing with rivets, so it'll have 5 or 6 rivets in here, and it'll hold this mounting plate very securely. So I got one going. I just got to knock out a couple more. There we go. Now I can put some rivets in and get this thing mounted, no problem. But I do have to drill these holes out. Put this up here like that. I got the rivet in the gun. Pop that in there. Bam. That's it. If you're doing projects like this and you don't have a rivet gun, I highly recommend one because they're super useful to get in tight spaces. They're a very secure fastener, and really like rivets a lot. These rivet guns you can get really cheap. They're not expensive. You can get a whole set of rivets, different sizes for whatever application you might need, but very handy tool. All right, so we got 2 rivets in there. All I'm going to do is just drill some more holes so that the whole thing's secure, so you could pull these out really easily. So I'm going to put some rivets in the bottom, in the middle, and it'll be very, very secure. The reason for using rivets, a lot of people would just use metal self-tapping screws, and I don't recommend that because the vibration of the road and everything, you could easily have one of these come loose and back out. These rivets will never loosen up. They're very secure, so putting rivets in is a better option. Another thing you could do is use riv nuts, like a threaded hole that has that you could put a bolt into, or a bolt with a nut on the back that has thread locker or something like that. But rivets are a really good solution in this case. And with the installation of this mini split, what we're doing first is we're putting all of the air handler and the condensing unit, we're putting all that in first and worrying about all the lines later. We want to run all those lines. We need to know exactly where this stuff sits so that the lines come right up to it with no excess and all of that. So that's why we're putting in all this equipment first. We're going to do the wiring and the line set last. Next, we'll be going out and putting on the condensing unit on the rack that's outside. So we're about to put the AC up into place, and we have knocked out holes for the line set and the power cables and the condensation lines. So the condensate lines are going to be two of them. They're going to come from both sides, so that if the bus is not on a, the correct angle, it'll be able to drain from both sides of the pan inside of the air handler unit. So that's why we're going to have two. We're going to have one come from this way, one come from that way. A T in the middle is going to come through and go down into my garden to water my garden. We got the air handler here, so we're just going to set it up on these clips in place. Yep, looks about right to me. We're not going to click it completely into place because we're going to be taking this on and off of here a bunch of times, but at least it's up there where it's supposed to go, and it looks great. I love it. It lines up with this line perfectly, so I love it. Good job. All right, so we're at the point where we got all of our lines run, the power lines and the copper tubing for the refrigerant, and we're going to be putting the condensing unit up in place next to the other one. This is my pass-through for the bus. I took out one of the bus lights. I have a hole for the liquid side, the vapor side, and the electrical. So this is how all my lines go through the bus into the inside. So I'm going to be fishing this over there, and then I'm going to be lifting the condensing unit up into place. During this time lapse, I will be forming these copper lines to fit where the air conditioner is going to be sitting just perfectly. I want those lines to come in and fall right on the connector with no deviation whatsoever. There are a lot of steps to installing this air conditioning system. It's not really that hard of a process, but there are a lot of steps. You can kind of get lost in all of this tedious work. It is really not that hard, and Airspool makes a great manual, and if you follow the manual, you will have an easy job of it. I had the added challenge of recording everything while installing the system, and I did leave one step out. The part that I don't show in this video is the part where I install the inside air handler to the lines and the copper tubing. It's not very hard. Follow your manual and you'll have an easy time of it. There's nothing technical about it. All you have to do is connect your copper lines, your wiring, and your condensation tube, and you will be good to go. We are up at the back of our bus on top. We are putting two mini splits in. One of them is already functional. This is the Airspool mini split available at Santansolar. Santansolar is sponsoring this video, and I want to show you how to suck down the vacuum in these lines so you can charge them yourself. You don't need a technician to do it, and you don't need a pre-charged line either. It's really not that hard. I'm not that technically competent or whatever, but I'm able to do it. This one's on, it's working great. All you gotta do is get a few tools and you can do this yourself pretty easily. So looking at the side of this unit, I have the line cover taken off. I'm gonna be hooking these copper tubes in, and you can see they're capped off at the end. I'm gonna be flaring these ends, putting the nuts on, and pulling the vacuum down so that I can release the freon that's in this compressor and charge the entire line set without the need of a professional technician to come out and do this for me. So another thing I'm going to be doing is hooking the electrical up in here. So I got to take this cover off so I can hook in two wires. One goes to the front evaporator and air handler unit, and then one goes to power this unit on. I don't know if you can even see it, but these cables are labeled 1, 2, and 3 on that little bus bar there, or power distribution block. You can see it's labeled 1, 2, 3. All you got to do is hook up these power wires to the right ones and you are good to go. So I'm going to do that right now. So when you're all hooked up, this is what it should look like. There's a little wiring harness right here, a little plastic thing that's going to strap down the power cable, which is here, and the communication cable, which is on the left. And we're pretty much done with the power. I just got to put this little wiring harness back on, and I can button this power block all up. So we got the electrical all hooked up. This is how it's supposed to look. We got 1, 2, 3 on the 1, 2, 3. We got the line, the neutral, and both grounds go to a ground screw right here. A really cool thing about this mini split is that it's a hybrid system. As you can see, there's MC4s right here sticking out of it. You can hook panels directly up to those. I'm not obviously going to be using those when I'm going down the road, but when I'm parked here on the property, I can connect in extra panels and save the battery bank for other things like cooking and whatever. So these will come in handy when I'm parked here at the property. I'll have panels just out here on the ground, on a ground array, and I can power these mini split Airspool hybrid mini splits with solar power alone. Pretty freaking cool, man. Pretty cool. I extended my line set, so I'm flaring the ends. Yours will already have the nuts on the flared ends, and you won't have to do any of this. So skip to this timestamp right here if you just want to see how to vacuum out the lines and start to release the Freon. So now I got to form these copper tubes and flare the ends and put the nuts on. These are the nuts that came with the system, so I'm going to be putting these on these copper lines and getting them all in place in the perfect arrangement so they're sitting nicely, and I can connect those and we can start vacuuming these lines out. Here's the tool that you're going to need for the job. This is a flare tool. You can get this at Harbor Freight for only like 30 bucks, and you can flare all your own lines. All you need is a pipe cutter. This did not come with the kit. I bought that separately. And the flare end and the holder, and you can do this flaring all yourself, these simple tools. So this top line is the 3/8 line. This is the bigger one, so I did this one first. The 1/4 inch line back here is much easier to manipulate and bend, so I'm doing that one last. I'm gonna get this one cut and put the flare on it so I can attach it to the system, and we'll start pulling vacuum. One thing I'm using is a little bit of Nylog blue. This is made for refrigeration lines. It's just gonna help it seal just a bit better, and it goes on the threads. It's just a little bit of lubricant, and it won't contaminate the lines if there's a little tiny bit in there. So you wanna try not to get any in your line at all, but this is made for refrigeration lines, so it's made for this application. I'm using just a little bit on the tip of the connector to make a really good seal. I've already done this top line. I've tightened it down. The bottom line is about to go on. Here's the flared end. The nut is on the line. So all I got to do is put a little bit of Nylog blue on that tip and fasten this down. We're almost there. So now we got both lines on here. I'll be adding my own insulation once this is all done. What we're going to do now is we're going to take these caps off. This is going to expose a hex head that's inside of there. That hex head will allow you to release the refrigerant, and this one on this end is where you're going to hook up your vacuum line. You'll have to open these valves in the correct order in order for the system to charge properly, and I'll tell you how to do that. Okay, so now we got to do the vacuuming of the lines. Everything inside is hooked up. I got the service caps off of these valves, and we got our gauges hanging right here. I'm going to be putting the low side onto this service port and tightening this on. It doesn't need a lot of pressure or anything. You're just going to hand tighten this on. There we go. I'm just going to hand tighten that on. Nice and tight with my fingers. Okay. One more little turn. Okay, and that's tight enough there. Now on the gauges, the yellow is going to be going up and attached to the vacuum pump, which I have plugged in right on top of this air conditioner. Just take this little cap off and you tighten this down. Okay, so now we're just going to be watching this pressure right here on the gauge. We wanted to get it down to negative 30 bar. I think that's what that is in bar. Yeah. So negative 30 bar. This is my friend's gauges, and he said that it never actually goes to totally 30. It'll be a little bump above 30, but that's how we did the other air conditioner, and it worked just fine. So I got all this hooked up. It is connected to the service port. You do not open either of these valves right now. I'm gonna be turning the pump on. That's gonna pull all the pressure out of these lines, and we'll be able to check it for leaks. And then once it sits for a while with no leaks, then I'll be opening these valves to release the Freon into the lines and charge the whole system. So here we go. We're gonna go up here, flip this on, and we're gonna let this pump for a while, and we're just gonna watch this gauge, make sure it gets down to 30, negative 30 bar, as close as I get on this pump, on these gauges, because I know it just doesn't go all the way down to 30. But yeah, we're just gonna let it pump for a little bit, about 5 minutes. Okay, so we've waited at least 10 minutes on this now. I'm gonna climb up here, turn the pump off, and we're just gonna watch this pressure gauge and make sure that it doesn't move. That's about our highest, our lowest pressure right there. It's close to 30 bar. It's about 25 bar, but that's as best as this gauge will show. I don't think it's a problem with the pump, but we're holding steady at that pressure with the pump on. I'm just gonna go and flip that off now. And this better not move. If this moves, we have a problem. That means that we got a leak in the system somewhere. So I'm gonna leave this for at least half an hour. The manual says to leave this for 5 minutes, but I like to give it a little extra time. I'm gonna leave this for about a half an hour at least, maybe an hour, and come back and keep checking and make sure that that needle does not move. All right, it's time for a check-in. It's been about 10 minutes and that bar has not moved at all. So we're in good shape right now. I'm gonna give it more time just to make sure, but I haven't seen that needle move on the gauge at all. We're still standing at that negative 25 bar. I think we're doing good. Actually, I think it's 1 bar, negative 1 bar, negative 30 PSI, something like that. But yeah, we're in pretty good shape. I don't think we have any leaks after only about 5 or 10 minutes, but we're gonna check again in half an hour and again in 45 minutes and just make sure that that needle does not move at all. But we are getting really close to releasing the Freon and getting this thing powered up. So excited to have 2 of these running. All right, so our front air handler unit is all installed. I like to do this, pull that last piece of plastic off, make it official. Oh, it looks so pretty. So nice. So over here we have the refrigerant lines coming down, power cable goes down here and then disappears in the back of this cabinet and makes its way to the back of the bus. I'll be building a shelf system up here to cover all that up, and like a conduit type of thing to you know, like a raceway to hide all that stuff. But we're looking good. We got the condensation line coming through the bottom here, so this will be pointed straight down and it'll empty into a jug that I'm going to store right here in my garden. So my drain for the air conditioner will drain into a jug and I'll be able to water all my beautiful plants with it. It'll be awesome. Don't want to waste that water. But now it's time to go to the back of the bus to open that Freon valve and release the Freon into these lines and charge the system. There's been no movement on the gauge. It's been about half an hour and it's still holding strong where it's supposed to be. So I don't think we have any leaks. I'm going to come back here to the back of the bus and open that Freon valve and let it all go into the lines. Just one last check on this gauge, make sure it has not moved, and we're still holding strong at like negative 25 PSI, almost like negative 1 bar. So before we let this Freon go into the lines, you leave this hooked up and you close this side of this valve on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up now. All of this is in the instruction manual, so it's it's a really good instruction manual. It's very clear and it tells you how to do all of these steps in the manual. So as long as you follow that, you'll be in good shape. We're still holding at the same pressure. So now what we're going to do is take an Allen wrench, open this valve up, and that's going to release the Freon into these lines. Okay, and this is the moment of truth. We have the 3/16 or 5 millimeter hex head. I'm going to open this all the way up and open this valve. That's going to release the Freon that's in the unit all into these lines and charge the lines. So here we go. I'm going to open it. I can hear it. And you want to open this all the way up. There is a stop at the end, so this won't blow out the end. It'll come to a stop when you've reached the end, and there's the end right there. So now the valve is totally open. All that Freon is going up to the front air handler unit right now. I just gave it a minute just to settle, you know, make sure that everything is good. No, we had no issues whatsoever. So now I'm going to put this in the bottom one. The next step is to open this valve fully and release it to the other valve. So here goes. I heard a little release. Open this all the way up. There we go. We're stopped. That valve is fully open. They're both fully open now, and we're good to go. On to the next step. I'm heading inside the bus right now. We're going to be giving power to the entire system. I'm going to be plugging it in, and we'll be powering it on for the first time right now. All I got to do is go to the back of the bus, plug in this unit into the power source, and we're going to be running. We have power to the unit now. I'm going to be powering it on for the first time. Let me hit this power button. Hey, we got power. All right. Look at that. So we'll put it on cool. Oh, the vent's opening. Very nice. And turn that temperature way down. And now we wait and see if there's cool air coming out. We do have power and there's air blowing out. I'm just waiting for it to cool down. It should be pretty quick for it to cool down. When we hooked up the other one, it took a little bit for it to actually start blowing cool. This one's cooling now. It's not super cold yet, but it's getting there. I think we're in good shape. Oh, that's exciting. So all that's left to do now is to go to the back of the unit and disconnect the vacuum line that comes from the pump, release that, and I'll show you how to do that. It's a little sketchy. It's scary. It's not sketchy, but you get a little bit of Freon spraying out. So you just have to release this line really quickly and take it off of there. All right, so this is the part where we're gonna take it off. It's a little scary, but it's not bad. You're just gonna get a little bit of Freon release here, coming out of here. But it's because there's a Schrader valve in there that's open when this hose is in place. So you got to just do it quickly. It's not a big deal. So here goes. Boom, that's it. Not bad at all. The next step I got to do is replace these dust caps. So this one goes on here. And we'll just want to put these back on and tighten them down. Just take a little wrench. Just give it a little snug, you know, just so they don't fall off. They don't have to be super tight, but you just don't want them to fall off. There we go, and that's all buttoned up. So there is one more thing I need to do, is I need to put a piece of insulation on this tubing. It cannot be exposed, but I ran a little short on insulation, so I'll be doing that as soon as I go to the store. So we're in good shape. All I got to do is take down this pump, take down these gauges, and we're pretty much done. Just do a lot of cleanup and buttoning everything else up. But we got 2 mini splits from Airspool, from Santansolar, running and putting out cold air. It is amazing. Oh man, it's so good. It feels such a relief to get it all in and functional and working good. I love it. All right. Woo! Woohoo! I think it looks cool too. It's very impressive. Look at that. Now I got to take that window unit out of the side of the bus. Okay, so some time has gone by since I got both of these mini splits hooked up and functioning, and I have been absolutely loving it. They are amazing. They've worked flawlessly. I have not had a single issue with either of them. There is one last thing that I want to show you, and that is how to use the app on your phone to control these units. It is pretty incredible, and it's one of my favorite features about these air conditioners. You can turn them on through Wi-Fi from anywhere. You can see the temperature that it's at in here. You can do a lot of things with the app, and I think it's pretty awesome. So we're just going to open the Airspool app right here, and we're going to go in. This unit is not on right now. You can see right here, this one is labeled Solar AC2. So we're going to click on that one, go into that device, and we're just going to power it on because it's not on right now. I power it on, you hear the beep, and you see the vent start to open right there. It starts cooling immediately. This thing only takes like 15 seconds for the compressor to kick on, for the juices to start flowing, and for it to start putting out cool, nice air. It is pretty incredible. I can feel the air already, and it's not quite cool yet, but a few more seconds, yeah, starting to cool off now. And now it's pretty much kicking out full on cool air. These mini splits can really cool down this bus within minutes. It's seriously like 5 minutes and it is good to go. So anytime that we're out of the bus, it's not very insulated or anything like that, we turn them off, save power. As soon as we want to come back to the bus, all we got to do is come back, kick on the power, and we are good to go within minutes. It is absolutely amazing. You might not be able to hear a thing coming out of this unit. That is because they are absolutely whisper quiet. I've never heard another air conditioner that is as quiet as these things. You know, when I first got them, I actually kind of felt like, oh, why isn't this thing doing more? Is because they're so quiet. You don't even realize the volume of cold air that it can pump out without making any noise. And it's not just this inside unit. The outside unit is equally as quiet. It's crazy quiet. We sleep with the one in the bedroom on all throughout the night. We usually turn it down to like 68 or 69 degrees. And it is fantastic. It never wakes us up. It's just calm and cool. The small sound of a fan or wind blowing or air blowing, I actually find it pleasant. I find that I sleep very well with that little bit of white noise, and it's so tiny, so minuscule that it's hardly even noticeable. I absolutely am in love with these. They have totally changed our lives. But anyways, let's get back to the app, and I'll show you a few of the things that it can do. This is your main screen, and on this side you can see that it says AC input. For me, I'm not connected to the grid, so the AC input is coming from our solar power. This is my solar power cabinet right behind me. It's right behind the driver's seat, and it is a 5K system. It's an all-in-one from Calfa, and I have two Calfa 5 kilowatt hour batteries that are in the bottom of this cabinet as well. So I have 10 total kilowatt hours and a 5,000 watt output of this inverter. And it runs both of them with no problem at all. I can run both air conditioners and my table saw out there when I'm working on things. It is so much power. I have power to spare. That being said, I would like to double my battery bank just to give me a little extra cushion for those days where it's cloudy and rainy. We don't have a lot of them here. It's a little bit cloudy right now, but I would like to be able to store enough power to get through 2 or 3 days without much sun and not really have to worry about it. And it's a bit on the minimal side, running 2 air conditioners and all that with just the 2 server rack batteries. So I would like to double it, make it 4 server rack batteries, double my battery bank, and have 20 kilowatt hours total. So you have this nice display up here at the top. It tells you exactly how many watts it's pulling. This one just kicked on, so it's actually working pretty hard. This is about the maximum you'll see power pulling from it. It is 95 degrees outside, so that makes it work harder. The hotter it is outside, the more power it's going to pull to cool. But these usually stick around 1,000 watts at the most. Overnight, it's down to 200 watts, maybe 300 watts, but it stays much lower when it's a little bit cooler outside and it's not dealing with the sun and all of the heat that comes from that. So it's definitely way more efficient when it's a little bit cooler outside, just to keep it nice and cool inside the bus. But I just turned this on, so it's actually working pretty hard to get the temperature down in here. So, and it's already come down a little bit. It's down to 800 watts. It's looking like it's going to go lower than 800 watts in a bit here. So, I have it set on 78 degrees, which sounds kind of hot, but it's amazing. It feels more like 70 in here when I have it set at 78 degrees. We usually leave it on 78 to 80 degrees during the daytime, because if you put it on like 61 degrees, which is as low as it goes, it's a little bit hard on the system. I mean, it's pulling a lot of power. It's constantly trying to get it down to that temperature, and it's just not, you know, it's constantly fighting all the heat coming in through all these windows in a school bus. It's a big steel structure, so I don't really keep it that low during the day. So most days I usually leave it on 78, 79, or 80 degrees during the day, and it totally keeps it comfortable and cool in here. Sometimes we actually feel like it's a little too cool. It's crazy. It really works well. If I had solar panels hooked up directly to these mini splits, so say I wanted to put out a ground array and put, you know, 10 panels on the ground, or I don't know, whatever, 4 panels on the ground, I can hook those directly into the PV inputs that are on the outside air handler units of these mini splits, and I can just run straight off of solar and not affect my battery bank at all. So that's something I might do in the winter when the sun is really low in the sky, create a ground array that will help supplement power, because it's going to be at a premium to try to get as much sun as possible. In the winter, it gets snowy, it gets cloudy, and the sun is so low in the sky. So that might be something that I do in the future to supplement the power of my battery bank and my solar panel rack that's on the roof. But since I don't have anything hooked up, it never says anything coming in. It's always at 0 PV input, and it shows that it's coming from the grid. It shows a power line, like a high tension power line there, but it's actually coming from my solar power station, my battery bank here. In this bottom menu, you could swipe up and open a whole bunch of other features. You could turn it on and off, obviously. You can go into the second button down here and choose the mode. And I have it selected as cold. I had it on auto at first, and what happened was we were away from the bus, we came back, and the air conditioners are pumping out heat because I had it set at 70 degrees. At night it cools off and it gets below 70 degrees in here, so it automatically thinks we need heat, so it started pumping out heat. Well, I don't want that. So I leave it on cool, because in the automatic function, it'll switch between heat and cold. Whichever it needs, it'll go there. There's also these features down here that say wind and dry. I have not used those yet. There's a lot of this I haven't explored yet because I haven't had that much time with these units to really like explore all these features. So over here, there's the fan speed. I have it on automatic right now, but you can choose whichever setting you'd like. If you can set the temperature very low, so it's pumping out cool air, very cold air, but just leave the fan on low if you don't want a lot of air blowing around. But you can also kick it up onto turbo and get it pumping out a lot of air. I just turned it on turbo right now, and I don't know if you can even hear, but the fan did kick up and it's pumping out much more air at this point. I believe on automatic, it doesn't ever go into turbo. So if you want a little extra boost of cold air, you can turn it on turbo and get that extra airflow coming through. I'm going to put it back to automatic. So here is a vertical button. It says vertical. We're going to click on vertical right now. And what vertical does is it automatically oscillates the exhaust of this air handler unit, and it rotates up and down. So you can get a just a revolving air from different parts of the room. Sometimes if you're sitting right in front of this vent, it gets a little bit cold, so you might want it to oscillate up and down. Get the air off of you for a little bit, and then when it rotates back up, like it's almost back up to the top, you'll get another little bit of cold air, and then it'll come back off of you for a while. So that's a nice setting to have. Sometimes I set it to just blow straight on me in bed. If I've been working outside for a long time, I'll come in here and I will angle that thing right at me and just lay on the bed and let it cool me off. It is really incredible. There's a horizontal button. That doesn't work on this unit. It doesn't have a horizontal sweep function, so that's just always dimmed out. Another thing you could do is there's a display up there, and it shows light. So you can click that and turn this off because it's very bright at night and you don't want that in your sleeping area. I know we're very sensitive to lights. We like all the lights off. We like it nice and dark in our sleeping area. So I turn that display off with that button and it doesn't cast any light into the room. So that's nice. You can also engage eco mode. Eco mode limits the amount of power. See, it actually just bumped it up a notch to 79 degrees. I don't ever use eco mode. I just feel like, I don't know, I just am careful with watching how much power it's consuming and how much power I have in my battery bank. So I really don't ever use eco mode, and I find that it's very efficient without it. But if that's something that you want to use, you can absolutely do that. I already have it on right now, but there's this function called anion. What anion does, as far as I understand, is that it negatively charges ions that are in the air and puts them into your living space. And I don't really know about that much. I have it on sometimes and I don't really notice much difference, but they say that there's good things about negatively charging the ions in the air. I don't really know what it does for you, but this thing does it, so that's pretty cool. And then there's a sleep button. I don't really know what sleep does. I haven't explored like all of these things yet, but I put it on sleep and it just turned up the temperature to 81 degrees, so it just climbed a little bit higher when I put it on sleep. So maybe it just like calms down the amount of air that it puts out or the kind of noise that it makes so that it's very, very quiet for sleeping. That's possible. So I don't know, but we'll experiment with that and I'll give you a future report on how things are going and all these functions, what they do. Here you can change it from Celsius to Fahrenheit. See, now it says 26 degrees Celsius. We are in America, so we'll only know Fahrenheit. So always leave it on Fahrenheit. Now it's back to 79 degrees Fahrenheit. And then there's an AC limiter. You can enable that so it'll limit what the things are taking based on how much what threshold you set for your AC limiter. So say you don't ever want this thing to pull 1,000 watts. You can set that at 400 watts and it will limit the amount these air conditioners will work to what you pre-designate as your limit. So that's pretty cool too. But I'm gonna turn that back off because I don't really use that. So then down here is cloud schedule. I haven't set this up yet, but there are some really neat things you can do with home automation in these two units. You can combine them into one scene so that you have one-click operation of both units. They will act as one unit pretty much. You can turn them both on, change the temperature. They'll both go to the same settings, and you can automate your home pretty well. You can also put them on schedules and figure out a schedule. Say you want this thing to kick out the cold air at 6 a.m. When you're ready to wake up. You can have those all do it automatically through the app. All you got to do is set up your schedule and you can do that. Then it also has historical electricity data. So for me, all my power is free. It all comes from the sun and it's all free. So it really doesn't make that much difference to me. But the power consumption, you can see how much I've used it. I've used 189,508 watt hours of power total on just this one AC unit. On the other one, I've probably used way more than that. As a matter of fact, we'll go to the other one. All you got to do is go back to your menu, select the other one, and I'll go down here to historical electricity data. Oh, and this one says 394,003 watt hours. Well, that's pretty cool. You can track all of your data on the app. You can see history and what the thing's been doing for the entire time. It's pretty cool. You can also rename these. I have them named Solar AC and Solar AC 2. That's what they come with from the factory. There's also up here, it shows your outside humidity, the temperature outside, and your air pressure, your outdoor air pressure. It tells you if it's cloudy, gives you some weather reporting right here in the app. So that's pretty cool. See, you can go to the scenes page and you can see that I haven't set this up yet, but you can create a scene and combine your air conditioners and have complete home automation with your air conditioners. Pretty freaking cool. And then there's also Alexa integration and Google Assistant integration, so you can hook these up into your Amazon Alexa or your Google Home and integrate these into everything. It is really awesome. We don't have a smart home. We don't really want a lot of those features, so I haven't hooked those up. The bus is called the mothership, so that's why it's labeled as the mothership. That's where these air conditioners are working. I want to wrap this video up. It's a very long video because I showed you all of the installation of all the parts and really like all the little bits and pieces, so it's quite a long video. I'll be releasing a video that just shows the vacuuming of the lines, because I want to break that out into a separate video that you can just watch that and see how to vacuum your line set out if that's something that you want to do. I'll also be coming back with a long-term performance review of these air conditioners. So far, we're about a month and a half in on them, and I am ecstatic on how they are performing. They're amazing. I mean, I couldn't be any happier. There is one downside that I'd like to mention. The only thing that I don't like about these air conditioners, and it's such a small, minuscule thing. The only thing I don't like about these air conditioners is that they don't have a mute button for the beep. So every time you make a selection, these units do beep from the inside air handlers. That's something that I wish we could change. It might be something they can add into the app. I will be getting in touch with the manufacturer of Airspool mini splits, and I'll let them know about that little bit of input that I have to see if we can add a mute button so we can turn off the beep so that it doesn't ever make any noise. That would be awesome. I would like to extend a huge thank you to Santansolar. Santansolar is a sponsor of my channel. They provided these awesome mini splits so I can install them, test them, and review them, and show you guys how to install a system like this and do it yourself. Santan sells these Airspool mini splits. You can get them at the Phoenix warehouse. They also do freight, so you can get solar panels, batteries, mini splits. You can get everything you need for your solar needs from Santansolar. I am a huge fan of Santansolar. They are my favorite solar company in the country, and I have used them over and over again throughout my van life lifestyle and building RVs and building all sorts of systems. I have used Santan numerous times. They are a company that I truly stand behind, and that is not just lip service. I absolutely love Santansolar. They are super awesome and friendly and will help you put a system together for yourself. It is not that hard. They can help you out. So go in there and talk to one of their technicians, and they will get you on the right track to getting affordable, attainable solar system that you can live off of, that's totally silent, totally free energy coming from the sun. It has changed my life. I've been living for 7 years on only solar energy, and it is amazing. Unlimited free power coming from the sun at no charge other than your initial investment into the equipment. Thank you to Santan for sponsoring this video. Thank you to Airspool for making such an awesome product. I love these hybrid mini split units. These are 12,000 BTU hybrid mini splits that can take solar inputs and run off of a battery bank very simply, very easily. They're super efficient. 22 SEER rating on these units, so it's very efficient unit. So I would like to thank you for watching this video. Check out my next videos. I will have more air conditioning videos coming up for you, running on solar, something that used to not be able to be done. When I first moved onto the road, they're like, that's impossible. You can't run air conditioning on solar. Well, times have changed, technology has changed, and you absolutely can run air conditioning on your solar power system. Thank you for watching this video. Check me out in another video real soon, right down the road.